sunrise over Poland. A morning that changed everything.
But before we start, please support us by pressing like and subscribe buttons. Also turn on the bell notification to get the latest updates. Your support means a lot to us. Thank you.
The morning of September 1939 dawned like any other in the Polish countryside. Mist clung gently to the Masovian plains as dew-covered fields glistened under the first touch of light. Roosters crowed, church bells chimed, and farmers rose to begin another day in the last days of summer. But as the sun crested the horizon over Eastern Europe, the fragile peace that had clung to the continent since the end of the First World War shattered like glass underfoot. At exactly 4:45 a.m., the German battleship Schleswig-Holstein, ostensibly on a courtesy visit to the free city of Danzig, opened fire on the Polish military transit depot at Westerplatte. The opening shots were not just a bombardment, they were the thunderous declaration of a new and terrible chapter in human history. World War II had begun. The calm before the storm. In the months leading up to that morning, the world had watched Adolf Hitler's Germany with growing concern. In 1938, Hitler had annexed Austria in the Anschluss and seized the Sudetenland from Czechoslovakia under the guise of protecting ethnic Germans. Despite promises made in the Munich Agreement, signed by Britain and France, the Nazi regime continued its expansion. Poland had long been in Hitler's crosshairs. The Nazi ideology of Lebensraum, living space, saw Eastern Europe, especially Poland and Russia, as territories meant for German colonization. But Poland was not just another land to be absorbed. It was a nation reborn after centuries of partition, fiercely proud of its independence, and stubborn in its refusal to bow to German demands. In late August 1939, Germany and the Soviet Union shocked the world by signing the Molotov-Ribbentrop Pact, a non-aggression treaty with a secret protocol. The two powers would divide Poland between them. This cleared the way for Hitler to invade without fear of a two-front war. Still, many in Poland and the West believed, perhaps hoped, that Hitler wouldn't dare start another global conflict so soon after the horrors of World War I. They were wrong. Blitzkrieg, a new kind of war. The German invasion of Poland introduced the world to a terrifying new strategy, Blitzkrieg, or lightning war. Within hours of the shelling at Westerplatte, waves of German tanks, infantry, and Stuka dive bombers surged across the Polish border. The assault was swift, relentless, and unlike anything the world had seen before. From the north, German troops poured in from East Prussia. From the west, armored divisions crushed Polish defenses. In the south, German forces advanced from Slovakia. The Luftwaffe bombed not only military targets, but also civilian centers, trains, roads, villages, creating chaos and terror. Warsaw, the capital, soon came under heavy aerial attack. Polish forces fought valiantly. They launched cavalry charges, defended cities with outdated equipment, and held their ground wherever possible. But the odds were overwhelming. Germany had mobilized over 1.5 million soldiers against Poland's roughly 1 million, and the technological disparity was stark. Still, Poland did not stand alone. At least that was the promise. A world hesitates 2 days after the invasion. On September 3, 1939, Britain and France declared war on Germany. For Poland, this was a moment of relief. Perhaps now the mighty British Empire and France would strike westward and draw German forces away. But the support never truly came. What followed was a period later dubbed the Phony War, a strange interlude where, despite the declarations of war, the Western Allies took no major offensive actions. There was hope in words, but not in action. Poland was left to fight a two-front war alone. The second front opened on September 17th, when Soviet troops invaded from the east, fulfilling their secret agreement with Hitler. For the Polish people, it was a betrayal that deepened the wound. Stalin, once hailed by some as a potential counterweight to Hitler, had become an accomplice in the destruction of their country. The fall of Poland. By the end of September, Warsaw was in ruins. The siege had lasted weeks, with residents enduring constant bombardment starvation, and despair. On September 27th, the city surrendered. The rest of the country soon followed. The Polish government fled to Romania, and the nation was partitioned once again, just as it had been in the 18th century, by powers hungry for dominance. But defeat did not mean surrender of spirit. The Polish resistance began almost immediately. Underground newspapers, sabotage operations, and the secret education system known as the Flying University laid the groundwork for years of defiance. Polish soldiers too escaped and regrouped abroad. They would fight alongside the Allies in North Africa, Italy, and on D-Day beaches in Normandy. Human cost and the Holocaust. The German invasion wasn't merely a military conquest. It marked the beginning of systematic brutality. In the very first days of occupation, Einsatzgruppen, mobile killing squads, began executing Polish intellectuals, clergy, and Jews. Entire villages were razed, and citizens were rounded up for forced labor or deportation. For Poland's Jewish population, which numbered over 3 million, the invasion heralded a descent into unimaginable horror. Ghettos were created, most infamously in Warsaw, and Jews were subjected to starvation, forced labor, and dehumanization. In 1941, with the launch of Operation Barbarossa, the genocide evolved into the full machinery of the Holocaust, with death camps like Auschwitz, Treblinka, and Sobibor established on Polish soil, echoes of resistance and legacy. Though Poland was overrun, it never ceased to fight. The Polish underground state, the Home Army, Armia Krajowa, and a network of secret civil institutions persisted throughout the war. In 1944, during the Warsaw Uprising, tens of thousands of resistance fighters and civilians rose up against Nazi occupation. The uprising was brutally crushed, but it remains a symbol of defiance. The morning of September 1st, 1939, marked the beginning of a war that would last 6 years and claim over 70 million lives. It redrew borders, shattered empires, and changed the very fabric of international relations. For Poland, it was the start of decades of struggle, not just against Nazi Germany, but later, under Soviet domination during the Cold War. Yet Poland endured. Through blood, sacrifice, and unwavering national identity, it survived the darkest chapter in its history. A sunrise remembered today, the Westerplatte Monument stands over the Baltic Sea, a solemn tribute to the soldiers who held out for 7 days against the might of the German war machine. Each year on September 1st, Poles gather to commemorate that fateful dawn. It was a morning that changed everything, not just for Poland, but for the world. The sun rose over fields and forests, over quiet towns and sleeping cities, but it also rose over tanks, bombs, and death. It rose over a world on the edge of catastrophe, and it rose over a people who, though crushed, never bowed.
Thanks for watching. Please like, share, and subscribe if you like videos like this. Thank you.